Part 14. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 131. Chapter 131, 131, The house was stolen. Shen Yun nodded seriously. Huang Song looked at Shen Yun's serious look and wanted to ask him something, but in the end he couldn't. He knows the confidentiality regulations, and asking more questions will make the child make a mistake. Shen Yun looked at Huang Song who was leaving and asked Huang Bin on the side, "Why did my uncle agree to let you become a policeman back then?" "I signed up first, and then I talked to him. My dad almost sent me home to make up lessons for a month, and he couldn't wait to tell me all his years of experience." "It means he doesn't know much about your special department, otherwise you can see what he said today," Huang Bin said with a smile. "Our special department is doing okay, and there is usually nothing going on. By the way, if you have nothing to do, go to the house my dad rents and practice with them a few times in the morning. This will not do you any harm," Chen Yun explained, then gave a warning. Huang Bin also understood what Shen Yun meant. After all, following Shen Yun in the past few days, he had seen some strange things. As a person from the special department, Shen Yun must know something, but it would be difficult to say. "Okay, I will go there every morning from now on. If our internal colleagues are curious about this matter, can I take them with me?" The police officers who work together have known each other for a long time, and everyone has feelings for each other. "We will improve our strength together. This pair safety is good for everyone." Shen Yun nodded. As the full recovery of spiritual energy approaches, more and more strange things happen, and the first one to bear the brunt is the grassroots police. Those who can help people don't mind a little more, just treat it as a good relationship. Furthermore, what the Shen family is practicing now is ordinary body refining techniques, and the body refining techniques will become more advanced after entering the Qi training period. The previous content can be leaked, but the latter content will not be easily taught by Shen Yun if he does not confirm that this person is reliable. After all, people's hearts are unpredictable. This is the conclusion that Shen Yun came to with his life in his previous life. The two of them have finished talking about this matter, but Huang Bin still has something to be busy with. People from the special department are coming to take over the case in the next 2 days. Shen Yun does not plan to go back to Baiyun village. He plans to explain the matter clearly to the colleagues who come here before returning. At this moment, she walked directly towards the rental house at home. A year later, business was not doing well, so my father came over with his 2 cousins. At this time, Shen Yun was not sure if anyone was at home. But Shen Yun knew where the spare key to the house was. When Shen Yun arrived, the door was indeed closed. She walked directly towards the location of the spare key. Before she reached the place, she heard movement in the house. Shen Yun made a movement, and his spiritual consciousness swept in directly. A short man was rummaging in the room. Shen Yun looked at the crack in the door that was a bit wide when he pushed it, and understood how this person got in. Ignoring the man who suddenly became nervous when he heard the knock on the door, Shen Yun reached out and took out the key from the spare key. Hand opened the door to the room directly. The man who was rummaging through the east bedroom had already hid under the bed in a panic. Shen Yun's steps were slow and unhurried, as if he hadn't noticed this person. The bedrooms on both sides were rummaged through and were in a mess. Shen Yun was used to being neat and organized, so he couldn't help but feel depressed when he saw this situation. "You just steal things, why do you throw things into the ground?" Shen Yun took a closer look and found out where Shen Liman and the others usually kept their money. The inside has been touched cleanly. Shen Yun stood beside the bed and looked at the thief who was about to move underneath. "Why don't you come out? The rats below are going to compete with you for territory." Shen Yun lightly kicked the edge of the bed and said to the thief below who wanted to rush out and deal with him. The thief below obviously didn't expect that Shen Yun had discovered him. He froze for a moment and rolled out from the other side. "Don't scream. I'll kill you if you do," the person on the other side threatened Shen Yun fiercely as soon as he came out. "He is not tall enough, his face looks old, and he looks a little anxious." "Kill me." Shen Yun turned around and looked at the cowering thief. "That's right, you're a woman. Let me tell you, just pretend you didn't see what happened today, otherwise I won't be able to spare you." The man clenched his fist, controlled his retreat, and said fiercely towards Shen Yun. Shen Yun put the door latch he had just taken from behind in front of him. "Why can't you forgive me? Please tidy up the room quickly, or you will be finished today." The thief looked at Shen Yun, then at the door latch in Shen Yun's hand, and his hand shook. "Hurry up!" Shen Yun slammed the stick into the ground, and the ground suddenly sank into a pit. The thief trembled, and stretched out his hand timidly towards the quilt that was turned on the ground next to him. "Chi, how brave do you think you are? Is this how brave you are to dare to break into a house?" "After a while, I also opened and washed the quilt, and took out the money stolen from my pocket." Shen Yun continued to pound the ground, slowly smoothing the side of the hole he just made. "Don't go too far, or I'll tell the police that you're bullying someone," the person opposite muttered, without stopping the movement of his hands. "Tell the police? You have forgotten what you came here for today. Are you justified in stealing things?" Shen Yun laughed angrily. "In the morning, I encountered a dark shadow that was slippery and ran away without saying a word. In the afternoon, I encountered another strange figure." As soon as Shen Yun said these words, the person opposite him immediately became silent and began to pack his things, but did not take out the money. Shen Yun was not afraid that he would run away. He sat on a stool and watched people working while pointing out what was wrong. "This man is quite good at being a thief. He is a little more patient than Shen Yun in cleaning up the room, and he had the whole room tidied up in a short time." "You've packed up, can you leave?" the thief said while standing in the tidy room and looking at Shen Yun. "The dirty quilt cover hasn't been washed yet." Shen Yun pointed at the back of the quilt that had just been removed in the room. The man angrily picked up the basin and started to work. He found the water skillfully and then started working. Shen Yun had an idea in his mind. This man was so skilled in this room. It must not be the first time he came here. "Yun, you're here. Why did I see two people at my door from a long way away at this time?" Shen Liman and the other three came back from the stall. "Hey, Yun, why did you ask Lu Cheng to wash our quilts?" He was only looking at Shen Yun, but when he turned around, he saw the landlord's son washing clothes here. At first glance, he was not washing clothes. "Is the quilt at home made by my mother herself?" "Dad, do you know him?" Shen Yun asked in surprise. "Isn't this our landlord's child? It's not good to let them do the work for us if you don't know them. Although this child is not very smart, we can't do this either." Shen Liman looked at Shen Yun as if, he quickly came over and whispered. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 132. He said, "Why am I more familiar with this person here than the first time I came here? It turns out this is his house. This is not a sure thing when it comes to stealing things. If I hadn't discovered it myself today, after someone had stolen something and tidied up the house, they probably wouldn't have discovered that the house had been stolen for a while. Dad, our house was robbed, and it was him who did it. When I came back, I happened to block people in the room. The place where you hid the money was blocked. Go quickly to see what was lost. People are still there now, he's not gone yet." Shen Yun doesn't care whether this person is his landlord's child or not. No matter who he is, stealing is wrong. Once Shen Liman heard that his home had been stolen, he couldn't care less and hurried towards the room. After a while, people came out again. "There seems to be nothing missing at home. We took the money with us when we went out." There are only some worthless clothes at home, Shen Liman said with a dazed look on his face. Then he rummaged through the room looking for something Shen Yun didn't understand. Since the family had no money, why was this man still looking for something when he came back? At that time, it was only half a mile away from now. About an hour later, since he was the landlord's child, he should have some idea of when Shen Liman and the others would come back. You don't know, this man is a bit out of his mind. But usually his parents have taught him well and he never stirs up trouble. Why did he come here to steal something this time? Shen Liman looked at Lu Chang, who was still immersed in his work. Not understand. I don't understand. Anyway, he was in the room when I came here. Do you think we should send him to the Public Security Bureau or what to do? Shen Yun gave the decision-making power to Shen Liman. At this moment, the two cousins packed up the remaining goods and came over. Shen Yun told the two people what happened again. You guys wait here, I'll go over and ask. Shen Chen stood up and walked over there. The two people should be acquaintances. When he saw Shen Chen, he didn't see Shen Yun so nervous. Shen Chen came back after a while. I asked, someone asked him to come here to find something, but he didn't want to say who it was. Shen Chen came over and said. That's possible. Anyway, nothing was lost at home. They even washed things for us and told his parents about the matter. The two old people are not unreasonable people, Shen Liman said. Okay, Dad, you and elder brother make the decision. If you need my help with something, you are telling me. Okay, a few people nodded. The Shen family still does business in the town, so it is impossible to offend anyone. Although the Lu family is just ordinary people in the town, because the old couple are good people, many people owe them favor. Shen Chen went over to look for someone, and soon someone came over. At this time, Lu Cheng had already dried the quilt with the help of his second cousin. Brother Shen, I'm so sorry. Shen Chen has already told us. I really didn't expect such a thing to happen. Don't worry, I will take the child back to teach you a lesson. I will definitely give you an explanation later. As soon as the old couple of the Lu family came over, they saw Lu Cheng stood here properly and said with a guilty look on his face. Brother Lu, Sister Lu, I have lived here for a long time. I still don't know who you are. Shen Chen went over and asked just now. This kid said that he was asked to come here. I don't know. What are you worried about? If we hadn't come back, my girl wouldn't have known Lu Cheng and sent him to the Public Security Bureau. Wouldn't there be a stain on this child? You should ask when you go back who made your children do this. People like this should be careful and don't bring up bad children in the future. Shen Liman has been doing business for a while and has become eloquent. Now he can talk to the old couple sincerely. The two people opposite suddenly felt that the Shen family was really good, and they were thinking about their family now. They thanked Shen Liman profusely and left. After people have gone far away, the family enters the house to say their own words. Who asked him to come here? The second cousin was a little confused. Why would someone ask such a person to do something? It's better for such a person to do things. Everyone knows that he is not very smart. If he is accused, he will be called a fool's nonsense. At most, he will get a bad reputation. What can he lose? Besides, although such a person is not smart, he can do things well. He was very stubborn at that time. You see, he didn't say who asked him to come, Shen Yun said on the side. When you said that, I remembered someone who fit this description very well. Shen Chen was thoughtful when listening to Shen Yun's words, and suddenly seemed to think of something. Who? Several people looked directly at Shen Chen. Years ago, Lu Chang'an from the village came over and said he wanted to work with us. This is our family's business, and the frying methods have been researched for a long time. How could we let others come over and get involved? I rejected him, but in the past few days, another shop selling dried and roasted seeds and nuts appeared in the town. I saw Lu Chang'an appeared before. It must be their business, but the taste does not seem to be as good as ours. After the Chinese New Year, business has been slow, maybe they are paying attention to our valuable products. Shen Chen said everything he thought about. That's possible. The economy has developed faster in the next few years. Although Shen Yun is not in business, he has heard of many cases of stealing secret recipes and being framed. Hurry up and see if there are any missing seasonings at home, Shen Yun urged a few people. Don't worry, there's nothing missing. We don't have any at home. We have experience now. Basically, we have received as many goods as we can and bought as many seasonings for roasted seeds and nuts. The last one we bought was just used up a few days ago. All the leftover goods at home were taken out today, and there is nothing at home. That might be such a coincidence. I guess the other party didn't expect that by choosing today as a good day, not only would people be stuck at home, but the things they wanted to steal would not be available at home. Brother, why don't we go and see this person? Shen Yun wanted to know who this person was who competed with his family. This would involve using various methods, but he had to meet him and be on guard in the future. The three of them had dinner at home. Half an hour later, it was getting dark outside, and several people had gone to the yard of Lu Chang'an's house and hid outside. Do you smell the aroma? I'm roasting seeds at home. The fire is too strong and it's all burned. Standing outside the yard, Shen Liman began to complain about the other party's skills. Shen Yun looked over and saw that they were indeed working in the kitchen. Under the dim light, the contents of the pot were slowly rolling. Shen Yun didn't see the paste, but he saw some incredible things. He had heard of this stuff before, but he had never seen anyone dare to use it in food. Brother, listen here and see if he framed us. I have something to do first. After Shen Yun finished speaking, he quickly walked away. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 133. Chapter 133, 133, Confused or Not. Shen Yun didn't show up. He went directly to the Public Security Bureau and threw a note into the duty room, accurately landing on the desk of the person on duty. I made an anonymous report, which is considered a good deed on a daily basis. The people inside saw the contents on the paper but did not deal with it casually. They found another colleague, and the two of them took the things and walked outside. Shen Yun looked at the direction they were walking, took a step forward, and called out the three Shen family members who were confused in the argument. Don't worry about whether they are confused or not, let's go first. Anyway, it won't affect our family's business. Shen Yun greeted a few people. Didn't you say you wanted to come over and take a look? We haven't seen it yet, so let's leave. Second cousin Shen Mu was a little curious. Don't look at it. The courtyard door is closed. The courtyard wall of this house is so high that we can't get in. Don't let people misunderstand, Shen Yun explained. A few people suddenly thought of Lu Cheng during the day. He didn't steal anything at his house, and was forced to do a lot of housework by Shen Yun. It was a big misunderstanding. No longer staying, a few people strolled towards the distance. Not long after Shen Yun and the others left, the police arrived at this place. Sure enough, they found something addictive in the household materials and arrested them immediately. By this time, Shen Yun and the others had already arrived home. I think there is no goods at home. Do you want to go over to receive the goods tomorrow? Shen Yun asked several people. Yeah, tomorrow Shen Chen and I will go to receive the goods, and Shen Mu will go to apply for the trademark and other things we mentioned a year ago. Now that someone else is doing this business, we have discussed how to differentiate ourselves from others. Shen Liman said the arrangements for tomorrow have been discussed. Shen Yun originally thought that they would just casually mention what happened years ago, but he didn't know that everything had been arranged now. This is okay. Do you need me to do anything? Shen Yun agreed with this proposal. No need, I've asked about everything, Shen Mu said with a little pride. As for business, Shen Yun must admit that since the Shen family started doing business, it was like opening up their muscles and igniting their talent for business. I can only occasionally give some advice, but I can't help much in other aspects. The next day, the family went out. Shen Yun was blocked at home by Huang Bin and people from the special department. The ones coming are old acquaintances Li Ming and Su Ling. I heard that you committed a crime. The boss quickly sent the two of us over. If the boss hadn't been delayed by something, he would have come over in person, Li Ming joked with a smile as soon as he saw Shen Yun. I am innocent and implicated, but it cannot be said that I committed a crime, Shen Yun rolled his eyes. How could Sister Yun do such a thing? If she really wanted to do something, we wouldn't be able to find out at all. Shen Yun's new little fangirl also helped Shen Yun speak. She looked so confident that Shen Yun himself was not so confident. Confidence. There is another admirer so soon. We, the younger brothers, have to move to the back. Li Ming looked at Su Ling defending Shen Yun, his tone was a little sour. But after a few minutes of informality, a few people entered the room and started talking about business. Huang Bin was not involved. This case was managed by the town next door. Even if the special department took over later, there was no need for him to intervene. He sent people there and saw that there was no morning exercise this morning, and he didn't stay here longer and went back to work directly. These are all insiders, especially when Su Ling passed by the previous stone statue. Shen Yun did not hide it and directly told the two people what happened yesterday. According to you, is this incident related to the previous incident? Su Ling asked doubtfully. Then we have to go to the south and see what's going on there. By the way, did Jia Wei and the other side ask anything? There must be a connection between the two, whether they are working together, or whether these two people are just young people. I am not sure about this. We don't have any clues yet, but we have found that about 10 people died because of his stone statue this year. If we hadn't discovered it in time, then these more than 100 people would have been the next batch of souls on his way to upgrade. However, our people discovered something different about the stone statues. These stone statues are not as hard as they look on the outside. The outside is wrapped in a hard shell of stone, but the inside is not. After testing, it was found that the inside looks a bit like human ashes. Su Ling said at the end, her face was a little heavy. With more than 100 stone statues filled up, she didn't know how many human lives were involved behind this. Chen Yun couldn't help but fell silent when he heard this. These evil cultivators really didn't take human lives seriously. Later, the spiritual energy was revived to arrest some low-level cultivators without power. Unexpectedly, they had already started to take people's lives before that. Experimented. Shen Yun was now somewhat certain that the temporary base camp of these evil forces should be abroad. After all, according to the domestic development in the past few years, it would be difficult for these forces to survive on this land unless they were in deep mountains and old forests. However, with the opening up in recent years, various forces have mixed in. I don't know how many of these forces have invaded now. Have people like Jia Weihe known about this organization for a long time, or have they only recently developed into it? How many such people are there? This is all data that is currently unknown. However, judging from the fact that Shen Yun encountered this incident twice just a few days after returning, it is estimated that there are still a lot of people like this in the country. At the time when the spiritual energy recovers and the order is temporarily difficult to control, the existence of these people will be a disaster for those who have just started to practice. This matter can't just be investigated here. I think it needs to be screened on a large scale. Otherwise, there are still many people living in the mountains throughout the country. Who knows whether these people will target these places with weak supervision? Chen Yun reacted and reminded the two people directly. Wait a minute, I need to talk to the boss about this. As he said that, Li Ming took out a brick-sized Big Brother from his pocket. This is a new one for our department. I'll call the boss first. After speaking, Li Ming carefully started dialing. Shen Yun took one look at it and moved away from the realization. Although he was a little bit dissatisfied that this thing was big and difficult to carry, he had to say that this thing was still a luxury item that he could not afford at the moment. Li Ming briefly mentioned it to Yan Han on the phone, and Yan Han responded quickly, "The matter has been notified. We don't have enough manpower. We have arranged for grassroots personnel to help with the screening. This matter has started in the past 2 days. Come on, you guys should take care of things over there first. I heard that this matter also involves the south side. If you two can't solve it, then let Shen Yun help. Tell her that her punishment has expired and the new reward is in my office. I will give it to her when she returns to Beijing." Yan Han's steady voice sounded in Big Brother. Shen Yu has good hearing and can hear clearly without paraphrasing. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 134. Chapter 134, 134, Going to the South. You have no excuse now. The boss said your punishment has expired. Let's handle this case together. Su Ling was even happier than Shen Yun when she heard what Yan Han said. Even if I made excuses for the previous matter, I didn't leave you alone and run away, Shen Yun said helplessly. Our sister Yun is the best. Without you, we don't feel safe in this kind of thing. The boss's decision is so right. Ever since Su Ling changed her attitude towards herself, she has become good at flattering her, and her good words seem to be free of charge. Stick it on yourself. But no matter what, Shen Yun still felt like he was a thug. None of them stayed at Shen Yun's house. Shen Yun left a note at home, and they walked towards the next town together. Yang's villa is still under lockdown. The town's police did not know that the case would be handed over today, and they are still trying their best to investigate the cause of Boss Yang's death. When Shen Yun and the others arrived, several of them had no idea at all. The cause of death of Boss Yang did not show any problems. It was a sudden illness. If someone hadn't seen that black shadow yesterday, they would have thought it was a natural death when they came later. This stone statue is really scary. It can make people die quietly. After Li Ming and the others handed over the case, they looked at the autopsy records and couldn't help but sigh. If it had made a big noise, it would have been discovered long ago. Okay. The discovery of the stone statue this time was also about pulling out the carrot and bringing it out of the mud. Sister Yun, I think the reward will be huge if you go back. Su Ling thought about what happened, and couldn't help but cast admiring glances at Shen Yun. Shen Yun was strong, so he could notice the difference in these stone statues. If it were herself, these people would probably have to see it in front of her. Slip past. Things here are easy to deal with. This is the situation. We are mainly going to the south to find out where the stone statue was purchased, why this person wanted to kill Boss Yang, and whether there are other lives in his hands. Chen Yun also looked through the records. He remembered them in detail. He even recorded everything he heard Boss Yang say outside. Shen Yun guessed that there would be a lot of things going on in the south this time. Then let's deal with it here first. Shen Yun, please prepare. Let's go to the south. The boss has made arrangements there, Li Ming said. Okay, then I'll go back and talk to my family. The elderly at home are waiting at home. Shen Yun said hello, then turned and walked towards Baiyun village. Without stopping along the way, Shen Yun avoided people and reached Baiyun village as quickly as possible. The family hasn't had lunch yet. Grandpa, Grandma, Mom, eldest and second uncle, I have something to do at school and I need to go to the south. I will just talk to you when I get back. After I finish handling the matter in the south, I will go directly to the capital. Shen Yun looked at it. Seeing that several people were there, I quickly talked about my own affairs. It was already the 6th day of the Lunar New Year, and the fastest I could get to the south would be the 7th day of the Lunar New Year. I didn't know when it would be until the matter was settled. Shen Yun couldn't guarantee that he would still have time to come back by then. Let's go now. What's going on? Did you find the tomb again? Let's have lunch at home before leaving. When several people heard what Shen Yun said, they immediately gathered around. Yang Kankan put down the child in his arms and began to give. Shen Yun packed up his things and went on a long trip, taking everything he should take with him. Although he was very reluctant to part with it, he could not delay his children's work. I don't have time to eat. There are still people waiting at the bottom of the mountain. I have to go back and say hello to my dad and the others, otherwise they will see that I haven't gone back and worry when I look back. Shen Yun quickly refused. It was not yet dinner time. I don't know how long it will take to have another meal. Okay, if the child has something serious to do, don't stop him. Old lady, go and see if there is any dry food you can bring at home, and take it away to the child quickly. Don't delay things. Shen Quiliang looked at Yang Xiaoko and they were reluctant to part with him. He quickly spoke to the side. Okay. Yang Xiaoko hurriedly turned around and returned to the kitchen, and soon packed a large bag of stuff for Shen Yun. These are food, you can take them with you on the way. Hurry up and make your poor family richer, and give some money to your children. The things were stuffed into Shen Yun, and the old lady didn't forget to take her own little pocket. As soon as he said this, Shen Yun received financial support from several elders, not the kind that was not enough. Shen Yun was holding a handful of odd bits and pieces of money, feeling extremely warm in his heart. When I finally left, I took my luggage with me, as well as a small bag of grain and another roll of money. When I was going down the mountain, there was a row of family members standing on top to see me off for a long journey. Shen Yun called back several times but no one came into the house, so he had no choice but to walk forward by himself. At the foot of the mountain, Shen Mu had already finished the trademark name and came back. Shen Yun told him that he was going on a long trip, and left without waiting for his father and cousin to come back. Not far away, I saw Lu Cheng's parents making trouble at Lu Chang'an's house that Shen Chen mentioned yesterday. It seemed that the people who ordered Lu Cheng yesterday had come out. In this way, with the slanderous competitors eliminated, my business should be able to run more smoothly in the future. Shen Yun just wants the people in his family not to live as hard as he did in his last life. That afternoon, after Shen Yun and the others settled the matter here, they boarded the train going south directly. Go directly to Pengcheng, the richest city in the south. When the three of them got out of the car, they all felt a bit like country bumpkins entering the city. They looked at the surrounding environment with restraint. The feeling here was completely different from that in Beijing. There is a lot of traffic and a huge crowd. Let's go directly to the Pengcheng branch to check out the investigated information, and then go to Boss Yang's house to check it out. The three of them were afraid of getting lost in the crowd. After leaving the train station, they didn't intend to rest and started working directly. Pengcheng Special Department Branch, in accordance with the characteristics of Beijing City, is still located in a busy city. Occupied a floor in a building not far from the train station. The people here in Pengcheng are so fashionable. The offices are all on high-rise buildings. The view is so good. It's not like Beijing, where they are crowded into an alley. The moment Su Ling got on the elevator, she couldn't help but sigh. Tomorrow I will go back and report to the boss and transfer you over, Li Ming said with a smile. If you dare to break up Sister Yun and I, don't blame me for not treating you as a senior, Su Ling glared angrily. The elevator stopped on the 13th floor. As soon as I got out of the elevator and turned around, I saw a bright and beautifully decorated company front desk. Wan Shivanko, Ltd. Li Ming, are you sure we are not in the wrong place? Here, is this the address you were given? Li Ming took out the record book and looked at it a little unconfidently. It did say the 13th floor. Li Ming, go and ask. Li Ming looked at the two weak female people around him and thought, who of the two is not better than himself? he should let his younger brother do the asking for directions. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 135. Chapter 135, 135, the state is full and ready to cause trouble. Excuse me, brother, is our place special? Hey, brother, you must be Li Ming. I've received news a long time ago that you are coming over. All the information you want is ready. The burly man at the front desk slapped Li Ming on the shoulder before he could finish speaking. Above, Li Ming suddenly staggered. Shen Yun and the others were relieved after seeing that they had indeed gone to the right place. This place is just a company brand. When the special department is not working, they also do other business, which can be regarded as a cover for the identity of the special department. When a few people entered, they discovered that the inside was different from what they saw outside. They were not all rough and tough. Except for the two burly men at the front desk, there were all normal-sized people inside. At this moment, the three people were full of curiosity about the leader of this branch. When I met him, he was a serious middle-aged man. Minister Chu, we are here from the capital city to investigate Yang Yi. I am Li Ming, and these are Shen Yun and Su Ling. Li Ming took the initiative to introduce. Yan Han called me. This is the information you want. If you need our cooperation, just speak. Although Chu Yushin looks serious, he does things in a very orderly manner. There was no small talk, just a brief acquaintance, and then we started working directly, which is a bit like the style of the big brother at the front desk. The information about the first half of Yang Yi's life is very simple. He married a wife and had children, no different from ordinary people. It's just that when the market opened up, he seized the opportunity and became a professional businessman. At that time, he accumulated a lot of funds. In recent years, I have been looking for a good industry again and started working in the catering industry this year. The beginning was particularly unsatisfactory. First, the hotel address I chose was preempted by someone else, and then the employee I was looking for ran away. Anyway, things were not going well. He finally found a store and set it up, but because his cooking skills were not up to par, business was very bad. But his bad luck all changed a few months ago, when he met a local friend named Jiao Hao. Not long after, his business started to go smoothly, but his competitor next to him was doing worse and worse. What was originally a small restaurant has now expanded into a restaurant. There is nothing wrong with so many things at first glance. After all, it is normal for ordinary people to encounter some hardships in the process if they want to do something well. On the other hand, there were no problems at all in the smooth flow that followed. Those who faced him had problems only when the opponent was unlucky. You can tell at a glance that there is something wrong with Jiao Hao, Su Ling said on the side. Yes, we have investigated this. He is a local gangster. He became friends with Yang Yi because he wanted to cheat him out of food and drink. We have carefully investigated the following things, and it is not the competitor he helped Yang Yi solve. At this time Chu Yushin spoke. This work was really done very quickly. The news was only delivered yesterday and the matter was investigated clearly today. Shen Yun had to admire these people. Have you found out who gave him the stone statue? Shen Yun asked the key question directly. We are also curious about this. He didn't get the stone statue from someone, but he picked it up casually when he took his family to the beach one day. That beach is still a place where no one goes, so our people didn't. Nothing was found. Chu Yushin also had a headache. The investigation at this time did not have any high-tech means. It was basically just asking questions. The reason why they investigated so quickly was because of the contacts they had accumulated by doing everything to help the company. But many private things are said behind others' backs, and outsiders don't know. Even Yang Yi's wife and children don't know where the stone statue came from. People outside are even more unclear. Our personnel have been going to remote areas to perform tasks in recent days. If we want to thoroughly investigate the line in the middle, it is estimated that we will need time to investigate in detail, Chu Yushin explained. Things are not going well here. But since he came to the south, Shen Yun planned to visit the place where the tracking talisman disappeared. No matter who introduced Yang Yi, she had already booked the Dark Shadow's nest in the stone statue. After resting for a night, Shen Yun took advantage of being in a separate room and went into the space to adjust his breathing for a night. Although he was still at the early stage of foundation building, his condition was full. Early the next morning, Shen Yun declined the company of Li Ming and Su Ling, and set out on the road alone. According to the mark left by the tracking talisman, Shen Yun did not take any detours and directly found a villa. This villa did not match the scenery here, but it seemed to match the scenery on the other side. Looking at this villa that existed like a target, Shen Yun hid his breath. Since the tracking talisman disappeared here, the black shadow must have appeared here. Maybe this building is too conspicuous. In order not to look so dilapidated, other houses are far away from here. The trees next to it are very lush. It actually provided convenience for Shen Yun's actions. Divinity took the lead, and Shen Yun climbed over the wall and entered. Although this house is large, there are really not many living people living there. Shen Yun frowned and looked at the lush lawn in the courtyard of the villa. He gently stood on tiptoe and walked directly towards the house. His consciousness has discovered the people in the villa. There is only one skinny old man in the huge house, and there are quite a few boxes and stone statues inside. As soon as he got close to the room and cleared away the strong gloom, the old man inside noticed Shen Yun's traces. Who is trespassing? Although the old man was still in the house, his angry voice had already spread outside. He was obviously very dissatisfied with Shen Yun, the sudden intruder. Here comes the person who is causing trouble for you. Shen Yun did not hide anything. Ever since he discovered the things under the turf in the yard, Shen Yun's anger level continued to soar. This time when he saw the things in the house, he was even more angry. To the extreme. Little girl, you are not a big person, but your tone is not small. Do you know where your grandpa is? I just need a good set of decorations here. It seems that you came in secretly. Don't leave now that you are here. The skinny old man opened the door and looked at Shen Yun with a gloomy face. Then let's see if you are capable enough to keep your aunt. The old man opposite was not very well cultivated, not even as powerful as Jiaowiha. The spiritual energy on his body was mixed, mostly yin energy. The evil spirit all over the body is very bluffing. Shen Yun didn't waste any time, he took out the Qingfeng sword and struck directly. The old man did not expect that Shen Yun was also a cultivator and could still use a sword. For a moment, he did not dare to confront him and retreated directly into the villa. The sword energy struck directly at the door, and the luxurious golden door was directly split into two halves. Shen Yun didn't stop and followed directly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 136. Chapter 136, 136, he doesn't look very good, but his thoughts are quite beautiful. There are large and small wooden boxes placed in the room, and there is a stone statue on top of each box. The stone statues are filled with gloomy energy. Seeing the stranger Shen Yun come in, all the yin qi began to twist in an instant. Shen Yun looked at the old man who had stepped aside. He was not as nervous now. Children, this little girl's movie has come to our hometown. Everyone has done their best today and left me here. I will take good care of her later. As soon as the old man finished speaking, the yin qi next to him couldn't wait to move. He rushed towards Shen Yun. The face that was not seen in the black shadow of Yang Yi's stone statue, this time, in the black shadow of these numerous stone statues, I saw ferocious and twisted faces, some big and some small. With greedy eyes, he rushed directly towards him. Shen Yun directly put away Qing Feng, took out the Sky Thunder talisman with his left hand, and held the Ju with his right hand. In an instant, his whole body was surrounded by lightning. The thunder light spreads directly in the air like it touches water when it touches yin qi. A piercing scream suddenly sounded in Shen Yun's ears. "Stop! You little girl, you came from the movie, I told you to stop." The old man saw that Shen Yun had something to restrain the black shadow, and saw the yin qi gradually dissipating. He suddenly couldn't stand and roared angrily beside him. Said, wanting to take action, but a little wary of the lightning on Shen Yun's body. He spent a lot of effort to collect these, but he didn't expect to be disturbed by the stinky girl who didn't know where she came from. Shen Yun was torn to pieces. Shen Yun ignored him. Although these shadows might be the souls of unjust dead people, they probably couldn't do any good in the hands of this old man. If you are tortured every day, and if you harm some people in the future, you will really go to the 18th level of hell. Shen Yun did not let the black shadow disappear, but directly consumed their fighting power. Seeing that they were all covered with a layer of yin qi and could no longer show their teeth, Shen Yun stopped the thunder metal technique. "Now if you go back to the stone statue, you will not disappear. If you come back again, don't blame me for letting you disappear." Shen Yun's hand flashed with lightning, and his eyes looked at a group of dark shadows with a layer of gloom in front of him. She didn't know if these things could understand what she said, so she said something tentatively. The black figures looked at each other as if they were conscious, and then began to retreat. "Old man, how are you? Your men have retreated. Do you want to tell me who the master behind you is? What is your purpose of getting these things? How many lives have been killed?" Shen Yun took out Qing Feng directly, and the thunder and lightning did not stop. The stop flashed above and said threateningly, "You stinky girl, you are just wishful thinking. You have lost all the energy I collected, and I haven't settled the score with you yet." The old man stared at Shen Yun. The fierceness in his eyes contained a hint of cowardice that was not easily noticeable. "Oh, I'm here and you still don't want to settle accounts with me. When will you wait? In the future, I will be more powerful and you won't be able to settle accounts. Come on, let's settle accounts." Shen Yun said nothing and rushed directly to past. Although the old man is not as powerful as Javi and he should be a person who has practiced martial arts for a long time. The two of them went back and forth, making the whole villa feel like it had experienced an earthquake. Shen Yun's sword was dodged again. Then he saw the man covered in blood suddenly pull down a lamp on the wall. How could Shen Yun, who knew how the shadow escaped last time, not pay attention this time? With his spiritual awareness, he discovered that there was a tunnel leading to the water outside the villa. Seeing others jumping directly inside, Shen Yun moved his fingers and threw the earth spell directly. Suddenly the entire tunnel was filled with soil. The old man who had just jumped in and hadn't started to run was directly trapped by the soil. Shen Yun quickly the net he used to catch things was thrown away. Suddenly there was an old man who was tightly in a net in the dirt. "How about it, do you still want to settle accounts with me?" Shen Yun carefully avoided the boxes and stone statues on the ground and walked towards the old man with only his head exposed over there. "As long as you let me go, I'll tell you whatever you want to know." Seeing that he couldn't escape, the old man changed quickly. "Do you think you are still qualified to negotiate terms with me now? You probably don't know that there is a kind of magic in this world called soul searching. As long as I use it on you, I will know everything. But for you, it's hard to tell." Chen Yun said threateningly. "You can't do this. Aren't you people claiming to be righteous people? Such evil and crooked things are definitely not allowed. As long as you let me go, I will tell you everything, so that you can be promoted and make a fortune. I can also save my life, and we can continue to cooperate in the future. The old man was even more frightened when he heard Chen Yun's words. The soul-searching technique sounded like nothing at all, but it was somewhat familiar to the soul-catching array they used. Although he has made so many stone statues, he himself does not want to be such a person. Oh, I didn't say that I was a righteous person. Do people like us still care about getting promoted and getting rich? I have already found the road to immortality. I just don't like you soul boys who are like immortal gods, Shen Yun said nonchalantly. His spiritual consciousness paid attention to the changes in the old man's face. As expected, the old man had a trace of surprise on his face after hearing this. Master, what do you want to know? Just ask me. As long as you guide me on the road to immortality in the future, I will tell you everything. The old man had just seen Shen Yun's power, thunder and lightning, and swords that appeared out of thin air. Isn't this the method of immortals? He knows how he got his cultivation, but he also knows the consequences. At his age, he just wants to live 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. As for why he believed Shen Yun so easily, firstly, he may have done too many bad things while doing this. Now his cultivation has reached a bottleneck and there is no hope of improvement. Second, official personnel are the most particular. People like this who just barge in without saying hello don't look like people who follow the rules. Moreover, as far as he knows, official personnel all act together and rarely work alone. Although a Soul Seal mission failed a few days ago, he didn't think the official would come to trouble him so quickly. So when looking at Shen Yun, he has a gambler's mentality. It won't get better anyway, so he might as well block it. You don't look very good, but you think you are quite beautiful. You tell me first, and I will see what you say, so that I can decide what to do. After all, do you want to prove your worth? Shen Yun hugged him. Jian directly pulled up a chair and sat next to him. Then let's talk about the immortal god. Those who rely on the immortal god to practice are the most indifferent. When people worship him, he absorbs their essence, and then kills many people at once. I can't bear to see it. The old man thought about it and decided to sell his teammates first. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 137. Chapter 137, 137, Spiritual Energy Recovery. You're talking as if what you're doing is human affairs. It's not like taking human lives to improve your cultivation. Shen Yun looked at the person below who was licking his face and speaking and couldn't help but sneered. My situation is different. This is the soul boy that I gave to the other party when he begged me. Otherwise, these things of mine would be precious. Besides, these lives were not caused by me. They were all the wishes of the other party, and the soul boy helped to satisfy them. The old man is still alive. Justify yourself carefully. Oh, where did the dark shadows in these stone statues come from? Shen Yun turned around and looked at this small villa. The entire first floor was an empty hall filled with boxes and stone statues. According to careful calculation, there should be hundreds of them. Dark shadow, you mean soul mark? Shen Yun nodded. The old man's eyes moved slightly. None of these things belong to me. I take care of them for others. At such an old age, I just want to live a good life and be healthy until I grow old. I have no choice but to do these things. Someone forced me to help him deal with these things. The old man is smart, he will push the matter to unknown people. Do you think I'm a fool for being so easy to deceive? Of course not. Look at my own strength. The soul mark in this stone statue is so powerful. Do you think someone like me can handle it? You have to find out carefully and don't wrongly accuse a good person. The old man said it was reasonable. According to past opinions, it will definitely take a little difficulty for a weak person to control a strong one. But if you look at the contents of the box under the stone statue, or the sealed items, you will know that these items are the key to containing the soul seal. Then tell me who gave these things to you for safekeeping. Shen Yun had time this time and didn't mind listening to his excuse. I really can't say this. If I say it, someone will die. The old man seemed to have thought of something, and when he said this, he couldn't help but tremble. Shen Yun was asking a few questions, but the old man was unwilling to say who was behind the scenes. He always said that he didn't see the face of the person behind him clearly. Usually the other person came here to look for him. He didn't know who the other person was. Shen Yun saw that the immortal cultivator could not attract this person even if he lived 100 years, so he did not talk nonsense to him, and just knocked the person unconscious, tied him up and put him somewhere. The person behind him is either very powerful, or as the old man said, he is mysterious and has not revealed who he is. Shen Yun turned around and looked at the box in the room. Each box here has a small seal painted on it. Shen Yun took out a box and observed it carefully. She has seen this formation before. It is in the talisman book that John Kingan gave her. It is a relatively common sealing and isolation talisman. However, as we all know, it is difficult to make these talismans work without mana. Since the talismans on these boxes are all functional, they are not painted by ordinary people. The first person Shen Yun thought of was Jiaweha. Think about it, the stone statue used by Jiaweha does not seem to have these so-called soul marks, and there is no formation in the eyes of the stone statue. Could it be that Jiaweha used the stone statues to harm people's lives, and then sealed the souls of those who died unjustly into the stone statues, so that the stone statues became stone statues of spiritual children? Shen Yun guessed in his mind, injected spiritual energy into his hands, and opened the box easily. As soon as the box was opened, the corresponding stone statue seemed to have a response, and the soul mark floated out directly from it. It was far away from Shen Yun. Although there was only a blurry outline of the face, Shen Yun still saw it from the blurry face. The longing for the things inside the box. Are these your ashes? If so, just nod, Shen Yun asked tentatively. Although past experiences have caused the soul to lose most of its consciousness, after hearing Shen Yun ask this question, he reacted for a few seconds and still nodded. Shen Yun carefully placed the box 2 steps away from him, when he saw the soul mark and rushed forward impatiently. Shen Yun glanced at it and turned his eyes away. The soul imprint was thrown on the pile of ashes, but there was no reaction, which made the people who saw it feel uncomfortable. Shen Yun looked at a circle of wooden boxes around him. Help me keep an eye on this person, and I'll help you with the sealing matter. Shen Yun stood up and said. Suddenly, all the soul marks that had just been hiding in the stone statue poked their heads out. The yin energy in the air suddenly became thicker. Watch him. I'll help you open these boxes. Shen Yun pointed at the old man lying on the ground. The first thing to move was the soul seal just now. As soon as Shen Yun finished speaking, she turned into a black stream of light and floated straight in front of the old man and began to circle around him. The subsequent soul seals were also added one by one. Suddenly the old man was wrapped into a black flowing silkworm chrysalis. Shen Yun turned around and took a look, saw several motionless stone statues, and threw a few exorcism charms on them. Suddenly, the whole stone statues gave off a burning smell, and a shrill scream could be heard faintly from inside. Shen Yun didn't even look back, he turned around and walked outside. This was to scare the monkeys. On the other hand, when Shen Yun just dealt with these stone statues, he discovered that the yin qi on the soul seals was the heaviest. When Shen Yun thought about the soul seal that killed Boss Yang, the yin qi on it was just a little more than these few. From this we can know that these soul marks have carried human lives, no matter whether they are innocent or not, there is no turning back. Shen Yun went out and found a phone booth and called Li Ming directly. They still needed to come over to handle the subsequent situation here. After making the call, I walked directly towards the villa. It goes back and forth very quickly, only taking about 10 minutes. Shen Yun stood at the door of the villa, looking at the old man inside who was still wrapped in a cocoon of soul marks. She was in no hurry to go in. He directly pulled out the rebirth spell stored in the warehouse of the immortal mansion in his memory, put the jade slip on his forehead, and suddenly a large section of the content appeared in Shen Yun's mind. Shen Yun recited it silently in his mind, then opened the door and walked in. The black cocoon wrapping the old man saw Shen Yun walking in, and immediately dispersed, and each of them returned directly to the stone statue without stopping outside. Shen Yun looked at the soul mark left outside and directly took the stone statue she had stored. Look at the patterns in the eyes of the stone statue. Now you will understand a little bit what this thing is, a sealing talisman and an energy conversion talisman. Shen Yun directly took out the brush in his space, dipped it in cinnabar and began to carve on the stone statue. After a while, the two talismans were directly destroyed by Shen Yun. Shen Yun looked at what he felt, the soul mark spinning in circles on one side, and immediately started to recite the rebirth mantra. As Shen Yun's voice sounded, the soul seal on the opposite side stopped moving. Gradually, the black color on her body faded and turned into a white and transparent color. The face that was originally blurred into a ball will now look like a delicate girl. Thank you, my name is Kui Xiui. The girl opposite smiled and bowed gently to Shen Yun, then slowly disappeared in front of Shen Yun. Shen Yun paused for a moment, then carefully took out a pen and paper and wrote his name on the box and pasted it. Then he started to deal with the next one non-stop. Some were young, some were old, some were men and some were women. The last thing he left for Shen Yun were their names and a word of thanks. There were a total of 101 people. Shen Yun didn't know how these people did it at that time. Thinking about how he was treated like ants when he died, they all suffered the same fate. These people don't take human life as their fate when they have some skills. I wonder if these people have ever thought that one day they would be treated like this. Shen Yun dealt with the last few stone statues that he had attached with exorcism charms. The soul mark inside has been tortured to death by the exorcism talisman, but Shen Yun finally sent a rebirth spell. There is a special place to judge the right and wrong. Since the spiritual energy can be revived and the soul can exist, then she believes that it also exists. Looking at the finished stone statue, Shen Yun's inner demon barrier was broken a little bit. She now saw through her death in her previous life, but she probably would not let go of the people who killed her. These people were not in the same area. After arranging these, Shen Yun felt a lot more relaxed, and then he felt warm and sunny all over his body. When he looked up, he saw a layer of golden light appearing around him and slowly falling on his body. Since the last time in the secret realm, there has been no little jumping dog that came out of the spirit beast bag. This time, it also came out of it, running up and down in the golden light. But it seems to be of little use. Shen Yun felt the golden light that entered his body. Could it be that this was the golden light of merit? He had allowed these people to enter the afterlife today and received a gift from God. Shen Yun felt this golden light of merit carefully, thinking about the records he saw in the immortal mansion, and seeing if he could see whether he could get the golden light or jumping up and down. He confirmed his understanding. Okay, stop jumping around. I got this by doing good deeds. If you want it, you can do good things yourself. Shen Yun caught the bouncing egg with his hand and said with a smile. Before I could put it into the spirit beast bag, I felt a pain in my palm, and then a drop of blood floated directly up, forming a mysterious pattern on the surface of the little jumper. The moment the pattern was completed, Shen Yun felt a chirping sound in his mind, and at the same time he understood what the little jumper had just done. It stole its own blood and bound a spiritual beast contract to itself. I had always guessed what was inside, but now that I had bound this promise, I realized that what was chirping in my mind turned out to be a little phoenix. I really watched her take away the golden light of her merits. Shen Yun couldn't help but hold his breath. But thinking about the description of the spirit beast contract in the records he saw, Shen Yun couldn't say anything. A phoenix sold itself to him just for a glimmer of merit, so what else could he have to complain about? Seeing the little Bengqiao getting a glimmer of merit and dancing more cheerfully, the chattering in Shen Yun's mind almost turned into a song. Little Benqi, are you stupid? You have signed a contract of betrayal. Shen Yun looked at the silly and happy little phoenix in front of him and couldn't help but complain. Shishikachichiki, chirping. This was still the answer to Shen Yun. Although Shen Yun has started practicing, he has never learned the foreign language of bird language. Of course I don't understand what it says. Hearing the knock on the door outside, Shen Yun put the little jumper directly into the spirit animal bag and walked towards the door. Sister Yun, you didn't take us with you when you went out to perform the mission. Later, you remembered that you couldn't do it without us as helpers. Su Ling complained quickly, and Shen Yun's precise complaints were thrown in her face as soon as she opened the door. Shen Yun couldn't tell for a while whether this girl really admired him, or whether she was approaching him in the name of worshipping herself, getting to know him better, and then complaining about him better. Okay, let's get down to business. Su Ling and Li Ming weren't the ones here this time. I also brought some colleagues who stayed behind in the south. Li Ming became serious when it was difficult to do things. Come with me. This yard needs to be dug. There are things underneath, and there are boxes in the house. They are full of ashes. I have put names on them. Then you can see if you can help find the family or what to do. Shen Yun has sent the ghost away, and he is not as professional as his colleagues in the south in the remaining matters. When everyone heard what Shen Yun said, their faces, which were a little relaxed at first, suddenly became serious. Several people started digging outside, while a few others went inside to deal with the stone statues and boxes. Shen Yun stood at the door and directed everyone to dig into the yard. Suddenly, her waving hand stopped and her eyes turned to the southwest. I saw only a dazzling white light that shot straight into the sky instantly. Sister Yun, can you feel it? There is spiritual energy. Su Ling was helping in the room, so she ran out and whispered to Shen Yun. I feel it, things are going to change. Li Ming, call Yan Han quickly. Shen Yun greeted people. I didn't wait for the phone to be picked up, so I picked it up directly. It's severe cold, the spiritual energy has revived, it's in the southwest. After answering the phone, Shen Yun said directly without waiting for what the other party said. Okay, I understand. You go over first and I'll arrange the manpower immediately. Yan Han didn't talk nonsense. After this period of practice, Shen Yun's words are easy to understand. This world is once again full of legendary things. The world, if it is not handled well, will be in great turmoil. Even the structure of the world will change as a result. Yan Han was not careless and started making arrangements after hanging up the phone. The spiritual energy spread quickly. By the time Yan Han hung up the phone, there was already a reaction in Beijing and city, and the department's Ouija board was spinning crazily. Shen Yun, who was in the south, directly stuffed the spirit beast bag that was about to move into the space. He turned around and looked at the group of people next to him. I believe some people have already felt it. I want to go directly to the southwest. If you want to go, please do it quickly. After Shen Yun finished speaking, he looked at Li Ming. Don't worry, go over there. I will handle the matters here, and I will also bring the old man inside for trial, Li Ming said with a serious look without a playful smile. Then I'll set off first. After Shen Yun said that, he quickly moved towards the hidden place. Then he stepped directly onto Qingfeng and flew quickly towards his destination in the high air. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 138. A stream of light quickly crossed the sky and flew toward the southwest. From far away, I could see the surging spiritual energy swirling and scattering in all directions. Shen Yun approached directly towards the aura eye on the ground. There was so much movement here, and it was close to the southwest border. When Shen Yun arrived, the vigilant troops were already slowly gathering and approaching. However, because the hurricane caused by the spiritual energy is too violent, ordinary people cannot get close to this place. Shen Yun did not approach rashly. After all, he was a cultivator in the foundation building stage. It would be too long to fight against such a strong spiritual energy hurricane. Controlling Qing Feng, he lowered himself on the edge of the spiritual energy storm. A huge cave was opened on the ground by spiritual energy. Shen Yun's consciousness was slightly shattered by the hurricane of spiritual energy when he looked outside. Suddenly, I felt a headache, as if I had been hit hard, and my consciousness was instantly withdrawn. After swallowing the sweet taste in his mouth, Shen Yun took 2 steps back. I didn't expect this spiritual energy vortex to be so powerful. Fortunately, I just tested it with my spiritual sense. If I went directly there, no one would be around. Thinking about my previous life, I was quite lucky. The day I became a cultivator, I had a small aura eye. If I had such a big aura eye today, it would have turned into ashes long ago. However, it is not easy to repair the damage to the consciousness. Shen Yun sat down not far away and began to practice. The aura eye was currently bursting out, which was a good time to practice. Maybe he could use this aura to cultivate his consciousness. Take out the little jumping thing that is causing damage in the space and put it on your knees. Shen Yun immediately started to use his skills. As for the troops stationed there, they could not get close to this place and could only set up a cordon further away. The Shen Yun technique inside operates very quickly, but it can only absorb a small part of the spiritual energy vortex. Most of the spiritual energy is dispersed in the air and flies to all parts of the world. While Shen Yun was practicing, the surrounding plants grew and mutated rapidly under the nourishment of spiritual energy. Shen Yun was worried that this was the wilderness, so he did not continue practicing. When his head stopped hurting so much and the tightness in his chest disappeared, he opened his eyes directly. When I first started practicing, I noticed the whistling sound around me. When I opened my eyes, I saw that Shen Yun had good concentration and had stabilized his breathing. When I came here just now, there were only a few trees here, and there was a lot of grass underground. In a short time, it had grown into a dense forest, plus the birds and beasts climbing on the trees and the beasts underground. With his aura eyes, Shen Yun thought he had traveled to some primitive society. Looking at various animals immersed in the aura, without any desire to fight or hunt, Shen Yun carefully moved back with his little jumper in his arms. Going around this green barrier, you can see the people on the other side. From a distance, Shen Yun could see several cultivators with spiritual energy meditating there. It seems that people from the special department have arrived, which is really fast. Shen Yun turned around and took a look. Behind him, these animals were more advantaged than humans in some aspects. Listening to the chirping voice in his mind, and looking at the little bouncy in his pocket who just wanted to go to that place, Shen Yun took it out directly. "Can you go there by yourself?" Shen Yun asked. Little Banky tapped Shen Yun's hand directly, and then quickly flew towards the aura eye. Shen Yun was relieved. After all, in the secret realm, a scorpion of that size had smashed a hole. Now this was nothing. Think again that it is originally a phoenix. Even if it is still in the eggshell, it is still a mythical beast. This aura should not be any problem for it. Shen Yun felt relieved after thinking about it. Go directly towards the stationed place over there. The people over there were still discussing how to strengthen the defense circle here to prevent someone from accidentally entering here or losing their lives out of curiosity. After all, they had just seen so many wild beasts enter with their own eyes. At this moment, Shen Yun was seen walking out. People who didn't know him were a little surprised. They had just been educated about cultivation by people from the special department. Even people from the army were queuing up to check their spiritual roots. Now, suddenly, I saw a person coming out, whom they clearly didn't see when they came over. Thinking about the long-circulated legends of monsters, although everyone was a little hesitant, they still shouted directly to Shen Yun, "Comrade, this place has been classified as a restricted area, please leave immediately." One of our own, the special department work permit that Shen Yun had obtained for a long time, finally came into use at this moment. When the other party looked at the ID, he immediately understood that Shen Yun was also from the special department. This time the severe cold without meditation has come out. Shen Yun saw him at a glance. He was an acquaintance, so Shen Yun didn't feel uncomfortable. Severe cold, Shen Yun greeted. The person who came to ask questions felt relieved when he saw that Shen Yun knew Yan Han. Thinking about how he thought Shen Yun was a ghost just now, he decided that his imagination was too big. "I'm talking about you, I came just in time." Yan Han saw Shen Yun and gave a rare smile. "What do you want to see me for? How is the situation inside?" "We just wanted to go in to investigate, but found that we couldn't bear to get close. I just saw you coming from that way. Did you see what's going on inside?" Yan Han asked quickly. "There is a whirlpool of spiritual energy inside, and a large hole appears on the ground. No one can get close to it, and most people cannot bear the hurricane caused by the spiritual energy. There are also many dangerous wild animals surrounding it. If you need to go inside, you'd better think carefully." Chen Yun briefly described the scene he saw. "The current situation is not the reason why we can't go. You also know that this location is close to the border. When the neighboring countries see the situation here, they are ready to take action. There are even countries that want to come over under the pretext that our country is doing dangerous experiments. Find out. Although the government has withstood this pressure, you also know that this spiritual energy cannot be controlled to spread out. No one knows whether other countries will have any cultivation methods. Once someone starts to practice, it will be very difficult for people here. Temptation, do you think there will be people who cross the border and take the risk?" Yan Han carefully explained his concerns to Shen Yun, and the soldier standing next to him nodded in agreement with Yan Han's view. Shen Yun thought about the legend about the aura eyes he had heard in his previous life. Small aura eyes lasted from 1 to 7 days, and large aura eyes took at least 10 days. At most, Shen Yun really didn't know, because when she was taken into the laboratory, her aura eyes were still erupting outside, and it had been more than 30 days. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 139. I remember that in the first few days after the recovery of spiritual energy, everyone in the G family was very busy. Several soldiers stayed in the military camp every day, saying they were preparing, but in the end they heard no news, and Shen Yun did not hear anything else at that time. People from other countries come to their own country to find trouble. How many of us have started cultivating now? Shen Yun asked this question. There are currently 60 people in the official statistics, but once this spiritual energy is revived, there will probably be a large number of people outside who enter the practice on their own. Yan Han gave the answer accurately. At present, this aura eye cannot be blocked, and we cannot prevent talented people from practicing, but the main thing now is to improve the strength of our internal people, so that we can resist external pressure. Yan Han, I feel that now is not the time to discuss how to deal with this aura eye, because with our strength, we cannot handle this. The main thing now is to practice, call all those who can cultivate over, and practice as close to the aura eye as possible. This was Shen Yun's idea. This is not going to talk about personnel screening or anything like that. There is only one stupid way. We are doing this, and we plan to choose from within the military first. After all, loyalty is guaranteed, but there is only one spiritual route, and the speed is too slow, Yan Han said as he walked towards the temporary camp, and the phones inside rang one after another. While talking, voices shouting for severe cold kept ringing. Shen Yun thought that the equipment for measuring spiritual roots should not appear until 2 months after the spiritual energy was revived. Here, I have another piece here, let me lend it to you first. Shen Yun took out his fist-sized spiritual stone from his pocket and handed it to the soldier who had just been with Yan Han. Although I don't know who this person is, looking at the badge on his shoulder, I know that his level is not low. After you've used it, just let Yan Han pass it over to me, Shen Yun explained. Okay, the man was not polite either. Zhangshuo, take this and ask the brothers to speed up. The man directly greeted the person next to him and asked him to take away the spiritual stone. Shen Yun thought that his mission was completed, so he turned around and walked towards the Aura Eye. The speed of practicing there is so fast. If Shen Yun hadn't been thinking about the affairs of the special department, he would have been practicing there. Comrade Shen Yun, are you going there again? Before Shen Yun could take 2 steps, he was stopped by the man behind him. Yes, Shen Yun nodded. That's it? We need some information here, but none of us can get in. Can you take this thing and take some information for us? The man turned around and took a large video recorder. This is not a big deal, Shen Yun responded directly, shouldered the machine, turned around and walked inside. At this moment, the animals inside were all concentrating on receiving the nourishment of spiritual energy and had no time to pay attention to Shen Yun. Shen Yun's machine is aimed at the scene behind the dense forest. Ignoring the little jumpers floating in the spiritual hurricane, he took pictures of all the plants and animals nearby. After taking a closer look, Shen Yun discovered that there were many dead animals hidden in these trees. Looking at that, the state is like that of having too much spiritual energy and exploding to death. Shen Yun took a breath of air. Although animals have a stronger ability to sense spiritual energy than humans, their cultivation talents are not as strong as humans. Shen Yun looked at the blood at the root of the tree and couldn't help but glance around. It was 3/4 less than what he had just seen. From time to time, I could hear a dark sound, and when I looked over, I realized that something was missing. Shen Yun quickly finished taking the photo and turned around to walk out. He saw some people who had just been meditating and now stood up to help with the work. Why don't they practice anymore? Shen Yun asked casually when he handed the machine back. It's said that the spiritual energy in the body is full and cannot be absorbed anymore, the man explained. Shen Yun immediately understood that he must have encountered a cultivation barrier. However, looking at the cultivation level of several people is not high, and looking at the few people who are still meditating, this should be related to each person's qualifications. Tell Yan Han that there are many animals that exploded and died inside. It should be that their bodies have reached the limit of spiritual energy they can hold. I would like to warn my colleagues to do their best when practicing. Shen Yun glanced at Yan Han, who was on the phone in the barracks. He didn't go in to disturb him. He just said something to the man outside, turned around, and walked inside. She has not encountered any obstacles in her practice so far. Most of them stopped practicing because they lack spiritual energy. This will encounter such a strong spiritual energy. If you don't practice well, you will be sorry for your life. I chose a place inside, and when I released my aura, the little animal next to me immediately moved its position. Shen Yun looked at the vacant position, directly arranged a defensive formation, sat there and began to practice. The initial stage of foundation building, the middle stage of foundation building, the final stage of foundation building, and the great perfection of foundation building. It wasn't until the final round of the Great Circle that Shen Yun woke up from his practice. Cleaned up the dust on my body. Put up the defensive array. Shen Yun looked at his spiritual energy eyes that had calmed down. He suddenly fell into trance while practicing. He didn't know how long it had been since he fell into trance. But thinking about my own cultivation level of 4 consecutive jumps, if I had not entered Samadhi, I would definitely not have been able to level up so quickly. Looking at the scattered animals around him, and then looking at the egg that was enlarged in the aura's eyes, no, this should be called a big goose egg. Xiao Banqi, you have been taking swelling agents these days. Shen Yun directly summoned the phoenix egg and inspected it completely. He found that it had only become bigger, but the chirping in his mind was still lively. Shen Yun, I feel relieved a lot. Go back to the spirit beast bag first. There are more people cultivating now. Be careful if people see you and take you back and cook you, Shen Yun threatened, then stuffed the reluctant little bunda into the spirit beast bag, turned around and faced walk outside. The dense forest expanded again, with several spiritual plants sandwiched among the trees. When Shen Yun saw something useful, he was not polite at all, so he dug it up and stuffed it into the space to keep. It will be a few days until I emerge from the dense forest. There were about a dozen cultivators surrounding them, all of them with good looks. There were also many people sitting at random behind these people. As soon as Shen Yun came out, the non-cultivators looked directly at her. Boss, the monster who has been cultivating inside without eating or drinking for 22 days has come out. Shen Yun was just trying to find someone to talk about the changes inside, when he heard someone shouting in the distance, and his eyes moved directly over, pointing with his finger. Isn't it exactly the direction you are headed? I stayed there for 22 days. No wonder, a layer of ash fell on my body, and the hurricane in the aura I subsided. But calling yourself a monster is a bit too much. The age of rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 140. Chen Yun was stunned on the spot, and saw many people walking out of the barracks in an instant, and everyone looked straight at Chen Yun. Oh no, I'm starting school on the 22nd with everyone watching. Chen Yun's mind suddenly wandered. Then under the hot gazes of everyone, Shen Yun regained his attention. Even if I am thinking about this matter now, I can't get rid of it now. I can only take the time to call the teacher. Shen Yun passed by the cultivator in front. Go directly to the front of the barracks. How are you? Are you hungry? Yan Han is very humanitarian and cares about the situation inside even before he comes up. Shen Yun felt really hungry when he asked this question. Although she was already in the foundation building stage, she was not completely inebriate yet. Although she would not die if she did not eat for a long time, she would really be hungry. Let's talk while eating. Feeling the roar in his stomach, Shen Yun suggested directly. The next scene was a row of several people staring at Shen Yun while he was eating. Only then did she feel that her suggestion just now was a bit outrageous. This was not a mealtime. Everyone had already eaten, except Shen Yun. Would you like some? Shen Yun looked at the people next to him and asked. You eat yours, don't let it go, Yan Han said while flipping through the book. Shen Yun could only speed up his meal and then start talking about the scene inside. The general situation is actually similar to the one taken last time, except now I don't know if all the animals inside are dead, or they saw the spiritual energy storm disappear and they also left. But no matter what, this is good news for mankind. Shen Yun didn't need to tell them that the spiritual energy hurricane had disappeared. They could see it. Shen Yun thought they had disappeared long ago, but after looking at their records, he realized that the spiritual energy hurricane only stopped an hour before he woke up. Shen Yun has been digging for spiritual plants for 3 days, and preparations have been made outside. After 3 days of observation, it is confirmed that the storm inside has stopped. Then we can arrange for people to go in. The powerful power caused by the spiritual hurricane inside has gradually dissipated. If humans don't take the first step, I don't know if they can come out on top later, Shen Yun said about their idea of wanting to go there and take a look. I agree very much. No one knows whether this is opportunity or danger, but cultivation inherently involves danger and opportunity. Moreover, the Aura Eye is the easiest place to enter enlightenment. I have heard of many people achieving enlightenment in the Aura Eye in my previous life, and Shen Yun just wanted to go in and have a look. Everyone walks together, which is always a little caring. Okay, I'll arrange for us to go in together. There are some spiritual plants you mentioned. Could you please give me some pointers? Yan Han didn't hesitate. Hearing what Shen Yun said, he thought about it and was ready. Go in as early as possible to avoid any mishaps later. With the order given, the whole camp suddenly became active. The special department, plus Shen Yun and Yan Han, a total of 15 cultivators went in, coupled with a team of 10 soldiers who were new to cultivation. Regardless of their cultivation level, they look like they are no ordinary people with the chilling aura all over their bodies. They may be better at fighting than most people in the special department. When you can be contacted, please contact us at any time. When you cannot be contacted, remember the camera in your hand. The person left behind in the camp was Zhang Bin, a soldier who was with Yan Han that day. This will send everyone to the dense forest without forgetting to explain to Shen Yun and the others. Don't worry, I will take care of it. Yan Han nodded. This time I went to the Aura Eye. Not only did I bring the necessary supplies, but I also brought 2 cameras and 2 walkie-talkies to facilitate contact with the people above at any time. Shen Yun led them forward in the dense forest. The plants here are stimulated by spiritual energy, and not only do they grow fast, but they also grow very big. The sky is blocked and the sun is blocked, so the sight inside is not very good. Everyone, please be careful. The situation here is very complicated and be careful of dangers. Shen Yun did not forget to explain as he walked away. While walking, Shen Yun did not forget to tell everyone about the Lingzi he saw. Of course, you won't be able to dig out these things on the way there, now you just need to get acquainted with them. Standing at the Aura Eye, everyone looked at the huge bottomless cave below and couldn't help but take a breath. Before going down, set up professional tools at the entrance of the cave and start measuring and recording. The people responsible for these tasks are not only people from special departments, but also several military personnel. Shen Yun watched their movements and did not bother to urge them. I stood aside and felt the spiritual wind blowing up from below. Apply it gently on the face and feel that the pores of the whole body are stretched. This underground cave occupies a large area, and there are occasional flashes of light inside, waiting for humans to explore. Shen Yun thought about the legends about the Aura Eyes that he heard in his previous life. Whether it is true or not depends on today's investigation. The whole team moved very quickly and announced that they could move on after a while. Although the underground hole is deep, it does not point straight down, which does not bring much difficulty to Shen Yun and the others. On the way down, there were specialized people to fetch soil and collect air at regular intervals. These were all tasks this time. The aura inside the cave is still stronger than outside. In his last life, Shen Yun had heard that many aura eyes were treasures for cultivation, but most of them were in the hands of the state and various forces. For casual practitioners like himself, it was more difficult to go to the aura eyes to practice than to reach the sky. I didn't expect that I would be one of the first teams to explore the Aura Eyes in this life. We traveled downhill for more than an hour and found nothing. The spiritual light emitted by the aura made their people's path forward less dark. About 100 meters down the tunnel, the intercom can no longer be contacted from above, but the 2 inside can communicate with each other. The group of people each perform their own duties. Shen Yun and Yan Han each have a camera, and the others also have their own things to do. Shen Yun raised his camera and was about to take a picture. No, something is moving, Shen Yun said in a deep voice. The people behind him immediately became alert. What's going on? Yan Han's voice sounded on the intercom. I saw something moving up there, please wait a moment and I'll take a look. Shen Yun and the others are currently in a diagonally downward position, and there is also dirt above their heads, and this makes the cave feel better than when they first entered. It was a little older. If you didn't pay attention, it would be difficult to notice something moving above your head in the dark environment. If Shen Yun didn't take a camera to take pictures, he probably wouldn't notice the slight movement. Shen Yun turned on the flashlight and called Qing Feng directly. Now is the age of cultivation, so she no longer hid it and flew up with her sword. Getting closer, I discovered different places. There were many semicircular traces of different thicknesses and curves like pipes. Shen Yun went to the place where he had just noticed the movement. This place was like other places, there was nothing there. Shen Yun was not in a hurry to go down. He controlled the flying sword and went up to take a look. He found that these traces began to appear about 80 meters down.